All right, good morning, everybody. Welcome to the Under Hood Show presented by Mel Hambelton Ford. My name is Phil Nightingale. I'm the general manager, and we got some special guests on with us today. Nick Roberts is with us from MH Ford Racing, of course, and also we have Monza. Monza, how are you?
Good.
You all right?
Yes, sir.
Ready for the last day of PRI?
Yeah, I'm tired. I'm wore out.
We are too. It's been a long week. We started Sunday with Hoosier meetings. We're Sunday, Monday, Tuesday with Hoosier, and Wednesday we're here setting up, and we've been here all week at PRI, but it's been fun, a lot of people and everything else like that too. So anyway, Monza, thanks for coming, hanging out with us. We really appreciate it. Everyone, this is a call-in show, and I love to get some calls in here asking Monza all about his new car, everything else going on in the Street Outlaws, and let's get some questions going, and each and every caller gets a great price package valued over $130. You just need to call 316-462-3673. That's the main number into our dealership. Tell them you want to get on the radio show. They'll patch you in. Josh will patch us in, and we'll get some questions going. And each and every caller gets this price package, $130. And what's in that package? It's our works package, which is an oil change, tire rotation, topping off all your fluids. You're going to get some BG products for your fuel. You're going to get $10 in Mel's Diner. You're going to get $10. Spitting that out there again. $10 of Mel Hambelton Ford reward points for Ford Pass, and you're going to get some nitrogen for your tires, and all that valued up to $130 for each and every caller. So usually when we're in the store, we get lots of calls and stuff, but when we go off site, we don't get many. So let's break that trend right now. Let's see how many calls we can get in today. Monza's ready to take his calls. He didn't stay up too late last night, ready to go, right?
I was in bed early.
He went to bed early. So did we. It's been a long week, but it's been a good week and everything else too. So here we are live at PRI here at Indianapolis, and been a great week and stuff like that too. So 316-462-3673. Let's get the phones ringing. Any question you want, of course, we'll take anything you want to talk about, but we really want to ask Monza all the good questions and everything else like that too. So I'm going to fire off the first one, Monza. How long have you really been racing? Don't lie. We know, because like everybody asked me how long I've been driving. Well, I was driving at 8 years old. My mom had a fit, but how long have you been racing?
You mean illegally or legally?
It don't matter. I know there's a lot of illegal. I did that too. I did a lot of street racing too, so I get it.
I mean, yeah. Ever since I could drive.
Ever since you could drive, yeah. Okay, so what was your first hot rod?
68 El Camino.
68 El Camino.
Yep.
What'd you have in that bad boy?
It was slow. It was a 307 with a 2-speed power glide.
2-speed power glide.
It wouldn't spin the tires in gravel.
But you still started right there, right?
I did.
Okay, so then after you got rid of the El Camino, give us a little story how it evolved and kind of everything else from that part.
I mean, as far as the street racing, the Monza deal, that was all done in like 2005, 2006. One of my cousins had that roller, and my son Brandon, he had just turned, I think, 13, and I wanted to do something with him.
Sure.
So we went and actually traded my cousin out of that little Monza roller, and me and my boy and another guy built that car together and started street racing it.
Okay, and we got another real good question is, I think I know where the Monza name comes from. I never have asked you, but I think I know where it come from. But how did you get that name Monza?
I can think that to Murder Nova. One night we were out on 39th Street hanging out at Sonic, and it was a night of a UFC fight, and Sean showed up there about midnight, and I think he had had a few to drink.
Surely not.
He couldn't remember my name, so he started calling me Monza. Well, Dave and everybody else heard it, and it stuck from that point on.
It just stuck. Now, you did race a Monza,
I did,
you?
yeah.
So what year was that Monza? Because back in my high school days, I wanted to build a Monza, just never did get it done. I ended up with a damn Vega, but that didn't work out either. But
it was a 1975 hatchback Monza, big tire car. We had a 421-inch small block Chevy in it, 18-degree motor with a big shop crossbar.
So you remember how fast that thing used to go?
It would run 530s all out.
530s all out in an 8. So what would that equate to in a quarter, Nick?
That just judges by the car and mile an hour and gear ratio, obviously a lot, but probably a low 9.
No, it'd go 860s.
860s in a quarter.
Yeah.
So how fast is 860? 100 and
probably 140s, I would guess, in that car.
What year was that again? What year was that? Was a 76, but what year was you racing it? I know it's hard to remember all these dates, right?
That would have been 2005, 2006.
Yeah. Very cool. Well, anyway, it's been a lot of excitement around your new car. Can we have any kind of an update of where you're at with it? What's going on? What's happening?
I haven't seen it since they started on it, other than pictures and videos.
Yep.
We're actually leaving here and going to Florida to get fitted in the car next weekend, and they're making fast progress. I mean, there's a lot of bars already welded together.
Is there?
Yeah.
Good. And as far as the powertrain and all that kind of good stuff, where you at there? Is it ready to go? You still got some stuff to happen there yet, or
Now, motor, tranny, everything is sitting there next to the car,
rest
ready.
of the car?
Turbos. Marty Marilat's building the rear end for it right now as we speak. So
Now that's a piece of jewelry right there.
yeah, they're nice. Every part for the car is there. As soon as we decided we were going to build the car, I started calling in favors and ordering stuff, because you know how hard shit
Oh
is to
shit!
get
Yeah,
right
it's
now.
it's terrible right now to try to get stuff. Yeah.
So
Lead times are crazy.
we're not going to be waiting on any parts.
So you got everything
that-
kind of ready to go.
Yep.
So you're headed to Florida to go check it out. So it's the first time to physically see the car.
Yeah, I get to put my hands on it.
That's cool. That's cool. So, what's exciting new for 22? Can you tell anybody what's exciting, what's going to happen, anything new, any different races or anything at all? Or
I mean, we're going to be on America's Top 20 for Street Outlaws. We got in on that deal, made it. And then the biggest deal is just getting the new car finished and making waves in the No Prep Kings deal.
Yep. So when's the first race? Do we know yet? You got a schedule set up and everything?
We're hearing March,
March.
but that, you know how that is. Everything's
Weather.
subject to change tomorrow.
Yeah, I think subject to change there too. So anyway, hey everybody, we're live at Indianapolis at PRI, and we have Monza has joined us. I can't thank him enough for taking an hour of his time to come be on our radio show here this morning. But we need some questions. Anything you want to talk about in the automobile world, anything from that part. But really, we want to talk to Monza. Ask him some questions about his new car, what's going on next year, anything at all whatsoever. 316-462-3673. That's the number to call in on. You just call the main store. It rolls right into the main dealership. The receptionist there will take your call. Tell them you need patched into the radio show. Josh is over running the keyboards and stuff. He'll get you patched in for the call. And 316-462-3673. And let's get some phone calls going. So anyway, Nick, what's kind of it's just PRI's been exciting, but what kind of, you got some questions for Monza and everything else too? Or
I think the biggest thing we kind of need to push a little bit too is, we've had the question many times since we've already shared stuff with Monza before, and he obviously gets our tires from us and a lot of other things. People are like, oh, why are you buying Chevy parts, or why are you here? And the biggest thing, that we're trying to do is show everybody and tell everybody that in the racing world side of things, we carry everything.
I guess that's true. Everybody has walked by us here. We got our bags we're giving out to everybody, and it says Ford on there. And yes, we are a Ford store and sell a lot of new Fords and used Fords and a lot of used cars. But in this racing world, we have a race shop right inside Mel Hambelton Ford, and we sell everything. We went direct here 3 or 4 years ago. I can't remember how long ago. Me and Nick Ballman came here to PRI. We just started the parts store, and him and I went booth to booth to booth to try to get direct with so many people. Now it's just evolved into a huge race store. In Hoosier, we got on Hoosier now. What are we at? 2.5 years, 3 years with the Hoosier distributorship. So I think that's kind of how your and his relationship kind of got together, was the Hoosier side, wasn't it, Nick?
Yep. Well, the racing side of things, I've known him for a little while, and we made some contacts with glue and other things. And yep, then when as everything is becoming harder and harder to find, he needed some tires, and we had some tires. And
well, and that's the next thing. Let's roll into Devil's Glue a minute. I mean, that's your product that you sell. We sell it inside Mel Hambelton Ford Racing. I think, Monza, you use his stuff, don't you?
Yes, sir.
And, I mean, that's kind of how – I don't know if it was the Hoosier side or was it the glue side or whatever that kind of got you going with Devil's Glue or whatever. But
would have been the glue side. I think a bunch of I've had that market for quite a while. There's been a bunch of the Oklahoma City guys and some name guys that have used it, and then I think it really started turning when you guys went and raced on that asphalt road.
Yeah, that's phenomenal.
Everybody was struggling to find something that would work on asphalt, and what they were using wasn't working as well. And luckily, the product proved itself, and Monza was one of the first ones to contact me and say, "Hey, I love it. I want to do something with it." And
so, how long have you been doing Devil's Glue? That's another thing. I really don't know that answer either. So,
6, 7, going on 7 years now.
7 years.
Yeah.
So you just got luck of the draw. That's how this world works anyway, that you were there. Were you there when he was on that asphalt road, or did somebody just have your product, or what happened there?
No, a couple of the other guys, I think Callie Nate and a few of the guys that came up in that area were testing, and I want to say Dominator stopped by and tried it or grabbed some from me first. But a lot of guys were just grasping at straws, calling people, hey, what do you guys use? And, where I originally am from, that's all we have is asphalt.
So, guys, we'll come back to that here, but first I've got a caller on the line here. Let's talk to Denny. Denny, you're on live with Under the Hood. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, guys.
Good morning.
I have a weird thing going on with a 2012 Chrysler Town & Country. My son has a wheelchair adapted van that has 170,000 miles on it. But a couple weeks ago, he pulled in the garage and I could hear the fuel pump still running after it was turned off. It just sat there and ran, and I had to pull the fuel pump fuse to get it to stop. And then when I put it back in, it wasn't running anymore. But that happened probably 3 times. And then shortly after that, all of a sudden one day it just would not start anymore. So took it into the shop and they replaced the fuel pump. Okay. Now it ran fine after we took it out of there. But what happens now is after it sits in the garage all night, I go out and I attempt to start it, and it will take about 10 attempts to start the car, to start the van. You can turn it on, try to start it, it won't, turn it off again, pull the key, put it back in. And after about, 8 to 10 attempts, it will start, and then it runs fine for the rest of the day. And it's done that now 6 mornings in a row. So any ideas?
Easy fix.
Easy fix. What do you think, Monza?
I think they got a loose fuel line or a loose seal on the pump itself, and it's losing its prime, and it's having to prime back up before it'll start.
Yep, that's right. I think they probably replaced the fuel pump because probably when they did test it that day, it probably was no pressure. They put a pump in, they nozzle things around enough to make it work from that part. But you're right, it's not building prime somewhere. So when you go to crank it, do you crank it for like 3 or 4 seconds and stop, or are you just cycling the key?
I've done both.
Both? Okay.
Yes.
Yep. So somewhere it's got that. And I guess another thing is, too, that I would go after is the I wonder if that fuel pump relay is not working, too. Is that maybe what was sticking on it while it kept running?
Do you hear the fuel pump come on when you're cycling the key?
Well, I can't tell you that for sure. Initially, when we were having problems, I heard the fuel pump come on, but then it's been replaced since then. So I haven't been outside to hear, because since it's a wheelchair van, there's lots of other beeps and buzzes going on when you turn it on.
Right.
Yeah. See, that's the next thing is wonder how many fittings and things they adapted when they put the wheelchair van in there. They alter some fuel lines and different things underneath there, too, from that part. But I tell you what we need to do. Josh, you got anything else you want to add into it?
We'll throw on a diagnostic and we'll get it into the store.
So what we're going to do to help you out, on top of the $130 package for calling in, we're going to add a free diagnostic where we'll take a look at that van at no charge for you and tell you what's going to take to fix that thing. But I think Monza's pretty well got it dialed in there. You're not building enough pressure to – number one, not building enough pressure to fire the injectors, or not enough to actually flow the thing to get enough fuel to flow through those injectors and stuff. But I do believe the fuel pump, in my opinion, was misdiagnosed. I hate to say that part of the deal, but there's something else going on there causing that issue from that situation. So let's get that van in there, and we'll mail this package out too. But if you want to call the store and get an appointment set up sooner, that would be great, because the sooner we get it in and help you with that situation, the better to have that headache of having it no start every morning for you from that part. So we'll add that to the package, and let's get that thing in and take a look at it, okay?
All right. Thanks a bunch, you guys. Appreciate it.
You bet.
Thanks for the call.
Man, y'all some stand-up people. Every time I have trouble with my race car, I'm going to bring it in for some diagnostics.
Bring it on in, buddy. We'd love to have it here. Okay. That's for sure. So anyway, 316-462-3673. Hey, that's the number to dial up on the air. Anything ailing your car, tires, brakes, batteries, but really, we need some questions for Monza. He's hanging out with us this hour here at PRI. And thank you again, Monza, for coming and hanging out with us and stuff like that, too. We really appreciate it. And we're drawing some – get some more callers on here. So anyway, we're up to where we at. We've kind of left off with your little history at about 2005 or somewhere in there, 6 racing the Monza, right? So
yes, sir. Then
the next thing that rolls in is the Camaro next, or is there something in between the Monza and the Camaro? Or
no, the Camaro was next.
How'd you find that car? Did you build that car, or what'd you do?
I did. I had it built. I had the chassis built. And I done everything else. That car come from Dominator. At the time, I worked for Henson Racing Engines, and Joe had a 632 that he needed the short block rebuilt on. So I did a trade and rebuilt his short block for him and for that body.
Really, that's very cool.
Yeah.
That's how the old world works, doesn't it?
Yeah, I mean,
Helping each other, right?
I couldn't afford to buy one, so I figured out a way I could barter.
Barter, exactly. So that is the whole thing here too. Is Monza, you started from an El Camino with nothing. Like you said, you had to do things to barter to get your way to where you're at today. And I want to keep evolving into your equation, how you got to where you're at today and everything else from that part. So you built the Camaro. And how long have you've still got the Camaro, right?
Yeah, we've had it, I'm guessing about 11 years now.
And so since the new car's coming in, what's going to happen to the Camaro? What are you going to do there?
We are going to keep it for the street racing part of what we do. It's too hard switching it back and forth from racetrack to street.
Okay, well, let's talk about that a minute. Maybe you can't share some of that stuff, because I have secrets with my modified and things I don't want to share either. But so how much difference is there from your car from racing from street to the strip?
Well, first of all, my car was never built for the track.
Okay.
It don't have enough chassis to go out here and compete and run with these guys at No Prep Kings is the main reason we're building another car.
Gotcha.
When we built the Camaro, our goal was a 499.
And how's the fastest you ever got that Camaro to go?
We've been 399.
Okay, so yeah, you really stretched it a lot there too.
Yeah.
So our listeners probably don't know what No Prep Kings are. Looks like we got another caller coming here. So when we come back after this caller, Monza, let's talk about what No Prep Kings really is, so our listeners can kind of understand our lingo, I guess is what you want to say. So
Scott, you're on live with Under the Hood. Go ahead.
I was just wondering, will we ever see Young Buck race again?
You mean Young Blood?
Yes.
who's Youngblood?
My son.
Oh, really? He's got a good nickname too, huh?
So I don't. Yeah, probably. I'm going to assume. Yeah. I mean, he's got several cars now. It's just that my racing takes up so much of our time. We really don't want to try.
Yeah.
He wants to do this when I'm done. So I got probably 2 or 3 years of this left. I'm going to do, and at that point, then I'm going to haul him around the country and let him race.
So he has raced though before.
Yeah.
And he just kind of give it up just to help you, get you support, get you going where you need to go, and everything else too.
Yeah. I mean, it's just that one car is 24/7.
Oh yeah.
It's
and
now we're going to have 2, so it's going to get worse. So I got to recruit some help.
Yeah, and that's I don't think everybody sees what goes on in the background of what you guys put into the effort. It's kind of same difference. Me and the dirt track racing, the hours we spend at the dealership, and then in the evenings working on the car. But a lot of people don't see all those hours it takes. And then the other thing is too is your road miles, because you got a lot of miles to cover on the road too, don't you?
Yeah. I mean, like one of our races was in Virginia, and we had to leave there and be in Idaho the next following weekend. So.
Yeah. So what did Youngblood? What did he race? Did he race the Camaro too, or did he have something else that he raced?
He had an 80 Camaro, second gen, similar to mine. He's got 3 or 4 cars now. He's got cars, motorcycles, Harleys.
Yeah.
And he goes to the local track when we're home, and we know we're going to be home for a little while, and he'll make a few passes, or he'll go out on Friday and Saturday night and roll around in them and do a little street racing. But when I'm done, we'll devote my time to him.
There you go.
Help him.
That's how it kind of works, right? So anyway, hey buddy, thanks for the call. Great question, and I learned a little bit there too. Didn't know we had a nickname, Youngblood, so I'm learning a little bit here myself. So hey, thanks for the call. Really appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you. All right, 316-462-3673. Hey, that's the number to dial in. We got some questions ready coming in from Monza. That's really what we want to do today is answer any questions. Ask him any question you want to talk about his career, what's going on, what's happening in 22 and everything else. So 316-462-3673. Okay, so we left off at No Prep Kings. So for our listeners to understand what No Prep Kings is, can you give them a good definition or a description or whatever what No Prep Kings really is and where it's at?
It's another show that came off of the original Street Outlaws, and we're racing on racetracks with no prep.
So
you have to qualify. Probably 32 of the fastest cars in the country are at this deal. And like this year was a 15 race series. I'm hearing next year will probably be like a 17 race series.
Okay.
That will kick off in March, and it's brutal.
Yeah. And where's No Prep Kings at?
It's all over the world.
So it's that No Prep Kings is a series. It's not one race.
Correct. Last year we did Tucson, Vandermeer. We were in Florida. We were in Texas, Ohio, Illinois, New Hampshire. We went all over the United States.
A lot of trips. So
I
So
put
anyway-
over 30,000 miles on my toter just on that.
just in doing that. So you got No Prep Kings. What else are you going to be racing in 22?
There'll be No Prep Kings. There'll be the OG Street Outlaw show. We'll, I'm sure, do a series, and then America's Top 20.
Okay, so let's go through each one of those. America's Top
We got
20.
we got
another
another
caller?
caller on the line here. Let's go to the phones. Let's talk to John. John, you're on live with Under the Hood. Go ahead.
Hey, how's it going, guys?
Really good.
My question today, I was just curious for Monza. Obviously, cars have gotten extremely fast today. I'm just curious, was it a lot funner to race when cars were only going 550 and you could drive them anywhere?
It was definitely a lot cheaper.
Yeah.
I mean, the maintenance and the money is unreal. What it takes to have a low 4, high 3-second car.
Yep.
So yeah, it was probably more fun because it wasn't getting into my pocketbook near as much. I like going fast, but it's just the work's tripled.
Triple to save another second is triple the work.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And triple the money.
And triple the money.
Well, I don't think a lot of these people understand too on when you go to a good no prep track, how fast you're going compared to say, let's say some of these NHRA Pro Mod cars on that track that's fully prepped and it's shiny as it could be and as best as it could be. There's not a lot of time difference. And in most cases, there's more mile an hour with these guys because the horsepower is double of what these NHRA Pro Mods are doing, the PDRA Pro Mods and stuff. So the wear and tear on the car that's shaking and slipping and spinning and you know, just letting it eat out the back door like there's no tomorrow, it wears them out pretty quick.
Yeah, I mean, we beat my car up bad. If you look at it right now, the quarter panels are broke. There's cracks all over it. I mean, we're going to take it to Florida with us when we go look at the new car and having new doors and side windows put on them. Because I shook the tire so hard at one race, the door blew off. And when the door blew off, it blew the back window out of the car.
Really?
Yeah.
The tire shook so bad.
Yeah.
Yeah. So.
Yeah. Well, John, thank you very much for the call. We've got another caller on the line here. So, all right.
Great question, John. Thanks very much, buddy.
Thank you guys so much.
Thank you.
Let's go back to the phones. Actually, I'll get him patched through. I'm sorry.
It's just a little too fast.
Yeah,
That's
just a
all
little
right.
too fast on him. But
And so I'm listening to kind of help our listeners learn too a little bit is just while we're letting it call. What's the difference between it? So they really understand what's the difference between a prep track and a non-prep track.
So, you know, every no prep event or coordinator or promoter has their own rules, but most generally, they scrape the starting line at most events. No Prep Kings is a little different, I think. But most of the time they try to take all the good rubber down. They try to take all the glue off. Pretty much the only safety thing they really do is broom it to make sure there's no sand and debris. Mm-hmm. And it changes a lot of how that tire acts, how that car loads, how it unloads.
And again, I've not been driving cars as fast as you did, but our blue Mustang, now our black chrome Mustang, we were out there playing with that car, and we had one lane prepped and one not. And just a little bit of difference that car has. I mean, it was a night and day difference to me to get on a prep track because the car just launch and go. When you're over that non-prep track, you got to drive a little bit. Mm-hmm. And so I can imagine how much you're really having to drive that car. And so is your feel more in your butt? So you know how to steer that thing, or where's that come from to know we can feel that traction or not feel that traction? Is it all?
I mean, that's just something you acquire a taste for. My son he'll jump my butt and say, "Man, Dad, I seen both sides of that car when you were going down through there." And I'm like, "Really? I didn't even feel it.
Felt fine, yeah.
Yeah,
felt pretty straight to me."
Yeah. So that's listeners. Everybody listen. They put down this again devil's glue down on that track, and you could walk across that track and almost lose your shoes.
Oh, yeah.
The other track, it's just normal asphalt, normal everything, and it's a night and day difference on how it's. That to me, that puts a driver behind the car when it's a no prep. The guy's got to really drive the race car. It's not just reaction time. It's not just launching. It's you got to actually physically drive that race car and make it happen.
Driver and a team definitely come huge hand in hand. You got a lot of people that need to be watching what the car's doing, not only what the driver thinks it's doing, but power management. I mean, motors like his and others, you know, they're 4,000 horsepower or above, you know, so the ability to be able to turn that down and go A to B is impressive.
Yeah,
that's where my boy comes in. He puts the tune up in the car. Like if we're street racing, he takes care of everything on the outside of the car.
Outside.
When I sit down inside and he lines me up and all that, I don't worry about nothing. I know I'm sitting right where I need to be. I mean, he does a very good job at his job.
Well, that's what it takes. It takes a good crew behind you. And I hear you say you're looking for some more people, and I understand that too. It's always kind of a battle. I mean, help today is tough to find, but you need to find you some more crew to get this going. But it's going to be exciting what you could do in 22. We're going to be right there with you and everything else too. So, Josh, we got a call coming, or
Yeah, so we lost the one caller, and the girls were trying to reach him again.
reaching
so,
back?
yeah.
Okay. Anyway, Monza, we were at one part we kind of got off the subject here a little bit when you were talking about the Camaro taking it from street to drag. How much change and how long does it take you to change that car to go from street to drag?
I mean, we have to change weight percentages. We got to change 4-link bars and tune-ups, and it's just.
So if you were sitting there at a track, and how much time would it take you to take that Camaro and switch it?
I mean, if I know I'm going from street to track, I need a whole night of working on that car.
Whole night.
And then we're still going to make adjustments the next day
While you're at the track and what you're doing there and everything else too. Yeah, I'm just trying to relate that same kind of scenario with my dirt car. As we would race, say, a USR8 car, and then we'd go race an IMCA car, and it's the same difference. It's a night change to go to make that car go do the same scenario and everything else too. So
I mean, and we've done it for several years, but it will be a lot easier having a purpose-built car. My car, the 4-link's not set up right. The motor's not setting in the right place. Like I said, when we built that car, our goal was a 499.
And you got it all the way to 399.
And it's fine for street racing. I can go plenty fast enough to compete on the street with it, but it's not going to work out.
Not for the Outlaws.
If we want to stay relevant, we got to have a better chassis.
Yep. So anyway, what's your goal for 2022? What's your best?
Well, we've got our mojo back on the street. We did good. It hasn't aired yet, but we got the black car flying on the street again. Now I want to win a couple No Prep King events.
So that's your goal for 22.
Yeah.
Win a couple. Have you won a No Prep yet?
I have not.
Not yet, but that's because you just didn't have the equipment. Is that really kind of?
Yeah, I mean, the equipment, yeah. Car, equipment, help. It all plays a big part.
All plays a big part. So anyway, hey, 316-462-3673. Let's get some phone calls coming in. We had some great phone calls already from Monza. Yeah, we can answer anything about your cars, anything alien, and the new products, everything else like that. But really, we want to answer questions about Monza. What's going to happen for 22, his new car, and everything else, and what his plans are got going. So love the questions, love everything else like that. 316-462-3673. So anyway, win a couple. What if you won 3 or 4?
I'd like to win them all.
Okay, so let's do another thing and this is what I don't know. So you win one of those races, what's that pay you?
40 grand.
40 grand for each one. So does every race pay the same 40 grand?
Mm-hmm.
So what would second place pay?
Depends on if the guy you're racing is willing to split or not. Sometimes they split, sometimes they don't.
Okay, well, explain that to our listeners for a minute, because I know what that means. But
say it depends on the rivalry. If you're in the finals with somebody you don't like, you're not going to split. If you got a couple of you that are buddies, say 2 405 guys that are in the finals, there's a good chance they might split the money. It won't be an even split, but you probably both get money.
So let's say you don't split. How much would second place pay? Was that
nothing? If you don't split, second place don't pay nothing.
Wow. So really, first place pays it all, and second, third, fourth, fifth gets
nothing.
Zip.
Nothing on paper. I mean, that's all negotiated.
Wow, that's different. I did not know that. I figured there's some more money there, but no. So that's why it's so brutal. Yep. You got to get that. You got a caller, Josh?
So I don't, and I'm not sure who the boss is here, so I'm not sure if I'm stepping on anybody's toes. But I was told that the next caller gets a free Monza T-shirt along with the prize package.
Look at that.
So thank you for that. But
next caller.
Greg, if you're still listening, call back in 316-462-3673. The next caller gets that Monza T-shirt. So,
all right, let's get it happening. And yeah, okay. And I had no idea that it's first place, all the money, and second, third, and fourth you get zip.
Yep.
None.
Mm-hmm.
I know the popularity.
Now
of
I understand the split.
Yeah, the popularity of No Prep obviously in the last few years has gotten huge, and then the small tire stuff's taken off, which is predominantly what I do, obviously. But like there's a lot of races that are up to 200,000 dig or die. It's supposed to be 250, and some of those will go ahead and break that down to the semifinals. But yeah, for the most part, it's very brutal, but also in a way, at least on our level, it kind of keeps people to be a little more respectful, because if you got to go against somebody you really don't like, he ain't splitting with you.
Now I get this split part. I had no idea. Yeah, so I was going to say, okay, so first place pays 40. What's second place pays 30? So you got 70 grand. So you're going to split that up. But no, it's 40 grand, and that's it.
Yep.
Wow. Okay. Yeah, I get that now. I understand some of the brutal part, but yeah, I also get that split part.
I think then there's an extra 100,000 to the championship. Whoever wins it
Wins that. Okay.
So like the last race of the season, Ryan won the race and won the championship, so he made 140 grand that day.
140 grand. Bam.
Yeah.
Very cool.
I want to do that.
Let's go for it.
Yeah.
Let's go for it. Let's see if we can make Monza have that championship. And again, you got this new car. It's getting close, and you think it will be ready by March.
They're telling me March we'll be testing it.
We'll be testing. Where do you think the first test is going to be?
Where?
Yeah.
It'll be around Georgia somewhere.
Somewhere down there.
We're going because the car is going to be totally finished in Florida, painted, vinyl top, wired, put on Fuel Tech's dyno in Georgia. And at that point, Steve Petty will go to the racetrack with us and help us get it all lined out.
Okay, let's go another step here. Do you guys I'm sure aerodynamics play a big part of that car going down the strip. So is that body put on there very precise and everything else like that from that part? Does that really affect you that much or not?
I mean, aerodynamics can be a couple mile an hour. That's probably not the most aerodynamic car. There's stuff out there that would have been better, but I'm old school.
Yeah.
I like the old muscle cars, so if I sacrifice a little bit of mile an hour, I got enough horsepower to make it up.
There you go. So what made you finally pick a Chevelle? And I've been a big Chevelle fan too. My very first car was a Chevelle, so I get that part of it. But what made you really kind of decide on the Chevelle? Because you never owned. Have you ever owned a Chevelle?
No. Two of my biggest bucket list cars were always a split bumper Camaro and a 70 Chevelle.
And a 70.
So I got the Camaro. Now I've got the Chevelle.
Now you got your Chevelle, right?
Yeah.
So,
guys, sorry, I don't mean to butt in here, but we got a caller on the line. Let's go to the phones. Let's talk to Brian. Brian, you're on live with Under the Hood. Go ahead.
Hey, good morning, Jerry. I got a question for you. Chasing gremlins. I'm having the same problem. Have a Skip White performance motor. I'm just a street kind of guy. Motor runs great. Just every time I put a new motor in the car, I have the same gremlin, and I just keep chasing it down. And I notice you may have the same problem. How do you feel about that?
I mean, it drives you nuts. It costs you a lot of money.
What kind of gremlin you having?
Yeah. Well, what I'm having is that I'm running great with the stock HEI system through Skip White. I put the MSD ignition system in. All of a sudden, my rev eliminator starts acting up. Replaced the rev eliminator twice. I've had 2 coil packs replaced on the MSD coil. And now all of a sudden I let the car sit for about 2 weeks, fire it up, even with the stock HEI. And now all of a sudden it's just cutting out, backfiring out through the carburetor, which it wasn't doing before. It sounds like a gunshot going off in the bushes.
Grounding issue somewhere, maybe.
Ground issue. Did you get the distributor back in it right?
Yeah, that's first thing I'm going to say.
Basically, timing. Yeah. What happened is I put the regular HEI with the coil and the cap back in there after having the problem. Ran like a screamer, man. 560 horses, for a street car, that's not bad. Let it sit for a week and a half, 2 weeks. Fired it up. It's missing, popping, banging, sputtering. And everything. And I'm just kind of waiting to get it back into the speed shop to have the MSD coil put back into it and the distributor. But I just think that I'm chasing more gremlins because when I have some gremlin issues, I also notice that my oil pressure gauge and my oil pressure or my heating gauge kind of flash on and off on the digital gauges. And it's just a real frustrating issue. I've been chasing this thing for 3 motors now.
You got a ground issue for sure, like Nick said. There's something not grounded right in your ignition system. You got grounds from your battery to the frame, grounds from the motor block to the frame, and all that. Something going on there. It ain't got a good ground.
Yeah.
So if you were going to start looking, because we've also thought the same thing and started playing with the ground issue. What would you? My battery in my 78 Malibu is in my trunk. It's got the long cable that goes all the way to the back. Do you think that might have something to do with it?
Do you have a ground running from your battery to the frame there in the trunk?
Oh, yes, and I've got an extra heavy-duty wire and it's all been grounded off, and really the paint's off and everything, and it's put down tightly.
I would just start adding grounds everywhere.
Yeah, what I was always told was you need to go from the battery to the frame, battery to the block, block to the ground to the frame again. I mean, battery to the body. I mean, you can't
have enough
overdo
grounds.
Just so there's dual redundancy.
Yep.
And with the MSD, I do know it's supposed to be grounded straight to the battery and wired straight from the battery.
Yep.
Jerry, have you had any problems with the I mean, I know you're way above just our street kind of cars, but the MSD rev eliminator, have you had any issues with that at all? I'm on my third one.
Then that's not the problem. Your problem's in your ground somewhere. Something's activating it when it shouldn't be. You're losing ground. Yeah.
And
you're not going to get 3 bad ones from MSD. It just don't happen.
Don't happen.
No, and you could burn them up. I mean, if
bad ground, you could be burning them up.
Yeah, and then you get into that kind of stuff, and especially when you get into EFI, it gets even worse. So wiring is the worst. Period.
Yeah. So I would be doing
what I'm hearing from MSD is, it's the famous, well, you got bad wires going in, bad wires going out, and we played that game and we've done everything we could possibly do. I got 2 coil packs that were kind of a funny color, so we replaced those. It's just kind of weird that we threw in the old stock HEI, with the coil in the cap, and it ran like a monster, and then letting it sit for like a week and then firing it back up, and then all of a sudden having it popping through the carburetor and shooting out the sparks out the tailpipe type of thing. So it's just kind of been frustrating. And I saw your wire mash laying on the ground, and I'm thinking, man, I'm going to have to do what you were doing there.
That would be my next step. I'd find somebody good at wiring and have them take a look at what you got, because you have a wiring issue for sure.
Yeah, you do. And I'm going to tell you where I'd be starting too. If you got an ohm meter, I'd be start ohming my grounds and room my resistance, and I do a voltage drop on everything and see if you've got some loose connection somewhere there. But the other thing is to start adding some grounds, like Jerry said, add some more grounds to it. Can't hurt to have enough.
Right. Well, I really appreciate your advice, and Jerry, I'm a big fan. Of course, you hear that all the time, and I just follow you kind of quietly, and keep up the great work that you're doing. Your son really does a great job for you.
Thank you, buddy. We appreciate your kind words.
Thanks for the call, Brian. Guys, we got another call on the line. I'm getting that patched through, so we'll go back to the phones here in just a little bit. But
all right, sounds good. Yeah, those wiring nightmares can be a nightmare from that part. And you know that too, right, Nick?
Yeah, I'm going through that currently, and about the same time he was. I had such frustration before we were coming to PRI, because I was hoping to get home to PRI and start testing the car. It was going to be I had it all for sale. I was done. I was frustrated.
Well, another caller on the line. Rick, you're on live with Under the Hood. Go ahead.
Hey, first off, I just want to say hi to Monza. I really enjoy watching you guys on TV. It's fun to see you guys compete, and at the end of the day, you guys are all friends, and you help each other out, and it's really good to see if somebody has a wreck, how everybody reacts, and they're your friends, and it's good to see that on TV, because not everybody gets to see that at a real live racing event. Phil and I can attest to that, because
we sure can.
We race at the same tracks, and you're always worried about your fellow competitors.
So this caller.
Yes, I do. I know Rick very well.
It seems,
and I've got to know Phil pretty well through dirt track racing, and great guy to be around, and always willing to help. And it's good to see you guys in the pits working on cars, and if somebody needs something, you offer it up, and it's just a lot of fun. I've watched Street Outlaws since it started, and you watch and you feel like you know these people, and it's fun. I pull for you all the time, because I enjoy watching you race.
Thank you, buddy. We appreciate you. What I've noticed is it ain't just us. I mean, when we go to the racetrack, there's 32 cars there trying to win, and most of them guys, 99% of them I'm friends with. And if I break a part in my car, I can usually go over to my competitor, and if he's got the part, he'll hand it to
He'll
me.
hand it to you and let you go. Yeah.
Yeah. I mean, whether I present a threat to him or not in the finals, I mean, that's drag racers. That's the way we work.
My whole thing is I would rather win a race racing than win a race because someone broke or whatever from that part.
Absolutely.
You know, I mean, you got to. It's a thrill to win, but I don't want to win because something broke or whatever. I want to win on the track, getting after it and going. And but it's a big family, and it's the same way in dirt track. There's a lot of stuff there too, but there's also those guys that don't want to be your friend and everything else too from that standpoint.
They're always that one guy.
There's always
like he was talking about too. He said, the crashing part of things, and this type of racing, crashing is almost it's going to happen. It's not if, it's when, it's how bad. But no matter how much even if you completely dislike a person, you know what it takes to build a car, to compete a car, to be competitive, the blood, sweat, tears, emotional distraction, everybody hating you when you can't go to dinner with them because you're in the garage working on your car. Nobody, no matter how much you dislike somebody, you don't want to see their car torn up or them hurt because you know what it takes to be where they're at that moment.
Yeah. And I think everybody you build a car to be safe too. I mean, like you just said at the start of the show there, Monza is how many bars is in your car? I mean, there's a ton.
People ask me all the time, what's the first thing you do when you're building a race car? I'm like, build it safe before you build it fast.
Yep.
You can always go faster later, but make sure at the end of the day, you're going to go home. You're not going to get yourself killed.
Well, that's any level of racing anymore is so competitive that, and it's with you walk around these booths and take a look at everything that's here and the technology that's here. It's, to a limit, it's pretty easy to go pretty fast, especially nowadays, so it's not like before where, you had to do a ton and it was a ton to get there, and it was easier to do the safety stuff. Now it's so much easier to overpass your safety stuff. It's unbelievable, for a budget.
I had a pretty good wreck a few years ago. I don't like to talk about it, but the car was built safe. I rolled the car at 160 mile an hour.
Walked away from it, didn't you?
When I got out, I had one bruise right here where the trans brake button hit me in the leg.
That's it. Yeah.
And I was a little sore where the straps might have got a little spot right there. But and we fixed the car. We're running the same car.
Same car.
5 weeks to the day, we were sitting in the same lane on the same street, fixing to let it eat again.
Yeah. So
exactly. Maybe I'm dumb. I don't know, but
been there. Crashed a few myself. Burned up a few of myself. Been on fire. Yeah.
I get it.
It's too, like I said, it's too easy to, unfortunately, these days to surpass your safety equipment,
and you can't race as much as we do. We race more than anybody.
Yeah.
Period. And like he said, it's not if, it's when.
It's eventually
it's going to happen.
It's going to happen. Anyway, Rick, hey, thanks for the call, buddy. Really appreciate you calling in the show this morning. And let's get these dirt cars ready.
Thank you.
Let's get these dirt cars ready to go for next year, buddy.
Oh, for sure. So, all right, you guys have a good day.
You too, Rick. All right, 316-462-3673. Got some great calls coming in. And when we started the show up, I told John and Monza that usually we go off site like this, we don't get many calls. Well, it proved me wrong this time, so let's keep them running. 316-462-3673. Love the questions, love the calls. And Josh, we got some more coming.
Yeah, I got one more getting patched through. He was on hold there for a little bit. So
he's on hold for a little
we'll
bit.
See.
Make sure he's still there and stuff like that too. So, as we're talking about how much you race and stuff, and that motor you're getting is all brand new and everything else like that. How many races will you run that motor before you tear it apart and freshen it?
We'll put 30 passes on it, and I'll pull it apart and put rods in it.
Rods, really?
Yeah. Then we'll probably run it another 30, and then Proline will go back through it.
Okay, so when you say you actually just replace the rods, really?
Yeah.
Of course, you'll put rings and bearings and everything in it too. No
bearings.
Yeah. No pistons, no rings.
No pistons, no rings. We'll slide them out, put new rods.
The rods
just
take that much abuse. Is that what's happening? Why you got to replace the rods?
Yeah.
No one's made a longer. I mean, I'm sure that rod's stronger. Whatever.
They make like steel rod stuff. Now to try to. They say the GRPs, 70 passes is what they're saying at that level is the max. And I've heard guys go a little higher than that, but yeah, they're made to go away.
To me, if they say it makes 70, I'm going to run her about 35. I'm pulling apart. If it comes apart, you got a lot worse disaster than anything.
You got a $10,000 block. If you break a rod,
it's done.
Yeah. I'd rather put a $1,200 set of rods in it and a $10,000 block all day long.
Well, yeah, I get that. I just didn't realize the rods is where the stress was at. I would figure the pistons would be some stress or something like that, but it's actually the rods.
They're
Yeah.
an aluminum rod, so they take a lot of beating. You got to figure how much cylinder pressure a motor like his makes.
So how many RPM are you turning that thing? Or can you even disclose that? I don't know.
I mean, that motor, you can twist it 10.5. We shifted at about 8,800.
8,800.
Yeah.
Yeah. And then so you're running 2 turbos.
Correct.
And probably, I don't know if you disclose how much pressure you're putting in that thing or whatever, but what's the range of the horsepower that thing's going to be?
It can make well over 4,000.
Well over 4,000.
Yeah.
How much was the power putting in the Camaro?
I'm
guessing.
Like, how much did you use of it? How much you think you used?
We've probably used, I don't know, between 2,500 and 3,000. We haven't tapped in all our power yet.
Yeah.
That's where the chassis problems arise.
That's what I'm saying. I get it. So I'm just trying to, me myself as a enthusiast of racing and everything else like that. Monza, I will tell you the big thing. I would love drag racing. I wanted to get in drag race. I did drag race myself back in high school and all that kind of stuff. And then when my kid come up to the ranks here and wanted to go racing, I've tried my ass off to get into a drag race. He wanted to go to the circle tracks. That's where I'm at. But so I'm sitting there myself, sitting there thinking, okay, I'm going from 3,000 to 4,000 horsepower. That's got to be a huge, much more thrill is what I'm after. The thrill, the G-force, everything else as you launch that car and everything else. How many RPM are you launching that thing at when you launch?
We leave somewhere between 48 and 5,100.
Somewhere in there. And them Hoosier tires hold it, right?
Somewhere between 12 and 16 pounds of boost.
Okay. All right. And so at that, probably what's that horsepower as you launch? Probably what, 2,500 when you launch?
It's probably close to, I'd say close to 1,800, 2,000.
Yeah. So when's that 4,000 kick in? Is that about halfway through the eighth, or is that right after you get going? Does it take a little bit for those turbos to get that there? Or?
I mean, we get it in there as fast as we can. So it just depends on the road or the track.
Gotcha.
We've never made over 52 pounds of boost, and the combo will make 70 plus.
Hang on, boys.
So
you got a passenger seat? I'd like to ride.
I don't.
Just kidding. I know. I'm kidding.
We can rig something up.
I'd love to ride.
I think we can ratchet strap you to a
I was
roll
going
bar.
to say, he said there was some extra space out on the hood, I think.
That would be fun to take for a ride. The thrill of that G-force. Has anybody ever measured your G-force that's on you when you launch?
We monitor all that in our data loggers.
Do you? Okay.
So I got a question here on Facebook. It
chat
says,
line.
how much fuel is used on each pass down the track or street? ?
In the vicinity of 3 gallons, 3.5 gallons.
That's through the burnout, everything, and all the way through about 3.5 gallons. Yeah.
That's methanol.
Methanol, 100% methanol. That's all you run is methanol, right?
Yeah.
And is that just because it's got the hottest octane, or what?
It's the main reason is we don't run water in the motor, so methanol
cools it. Yeah.
keeps it cool.
You have no water in that thing, really?
Solid block.
Wow, I did not know that. I did not know that. I figured you had coolant in it to cool her down, but you don't. That's why the methanol. I get that now. The methanol is what cools everything, keeps everything cool and stuff like that.
We can make a pass, and it's still 150, 160 degrees.
Yeah. Okay. Next thing, you got another caller coming, Josh. I couldn't remember what you said. No. 316-462. Let's get some phone. God, I didn't get the whole phone number out, did I? 316-462-3673. Hey, let's get some more phone calls coming. Love the calls already so far. Mons, I know it takes a lot of people to get you going and stuff. You need to plug your sponsors. I see you got your Amsoil shirt sitting here in front of you, loud and proud. I get that too. Who else helps you that you need to thank? You need to give us some recognition for everything it does to get your car going down the racetrack.
I mean, we got Proline Motors, Hart's Turbo. We got an M&M converter in the car. You guys are going to help. We just got Renegade Fuel on board. So there's a big long list of people that help us. Quick Performance, they take care of all of our center sections and stuff like that.
Okay, when you call center section, so our listeners know I know what that is, but our listeners, what is a center section?
Center section is, a lot of people call it a pumpkin. It's
gears.
Goes in like a
differential.
They call it a 9-inch Ford back in the day. Anymore, they're not 9-inch Fords. We run a 10-inch gear in our car, and we have an all billet center section.
All billet, yeah.
Because at the weight they require our turbo cars to be like 3,000 horsepower. I mean, 3,000 pounds, all that horsepower breaks shit. So we have to run a billet center section and a big 10-inch gear to keep.
Do you change gear ratios often?
Really, the only time we do is if we change the tire.
Change the tire, the height, the diameter of the tire.
Yeah.
And then so if you've I'm getting too technical with that. I was going to ask you to tell us the gear ratio. I'm curious, but maybe off air you can tell me what that is. I'm curious what that gear ratio is that you're running and stuff too. Okay, let's go to the transmission for a minute. Is it a 2-speed, 3-speed? What is it?
We run a 3-speed Rosler Turbo 400.
And are you button shifting that or are you lever shifting that?
It's air shifted.
Air shifted. So you're pushing a button to shift it?
No, it's all done through the ECU. We
Computer
just
controls
program when we want it to shift, and it shifts it.
So
I let go of the brake, and I grab the steering wheel.
And put
And
the
the
foot on
only
the
thing
ground.
I do is if somebody comes up beside me, I'll grab a scramble button and hit it with another 10 pounds of boost.
Oh, really? So you can see where you're at or whatever. So you can decide if you're going to hit a little bit more.
I got an oh shit button.
Go, baby, go.
So
we
that's
got-
another 10 pounds of boost coming at you there. Okay.
It's 10
If you
pounds
need
of
it.
air. So usually if you that's 4, 5, 6 pounds of boost.
So we got a question here on Facebook Live. It says, a question for all three. Do you think the cars have reached a limit with fuel injection or computing power, and what direction do you think it's headed?
Faster and faster and
Sky's
Yeah.
the moon. I mean,
Sky's the limit.
I say this all the time in the store that, especially in the drag racing stuff, 3 to 6 months, the technology's changed and gotten better. And if you're not there with it, you're not talking to people, you're not at the races, you're not seeing it, you're behind.
I mean, like Fuel Tech and Holly and all them guys with the fuel injection, every few months they come up with updates that you can do something,
New
something new
sensors
every
to
60
control
days,
something
60,
and-
90 days. So, yeah, it's not.
Yeah, I guess the best way I can describe it, I mean, I go back to different race series that come back to try to slow the cars down, and that's what they did. I remember I was in Topeka at the drag races up there, NHRA stuff, and I was in the pits. So I had some pretty good pit passes back then with Pontiac and everything. And the funny cars tipped 300 mile an hour, and everybody was freaking out, said the timers were off, everything else like that. And then they went back and did something to the cars. I don't know what all they did or whatever, slowed them down. And they're going faster than they were before they slowed them down. So it's just technology just keeps going and going and going. And it's no different in the new product lines that are out there in the manufacturers. I mean, we got 4-cylinder engines producing more horsepower, more torque than V8s did 5 and 6 years ago. Just different. The technology just keeps changing. Did I think it ever tap out? I don't think so. But I think that, I mean, how hard did it take you to get from $499 to $399? I mean, that was probably a pretty good jump. I mean, it took a lot of work and a lot of effort.
Yeah, I mean, we went 480s, 460s, 440s, 420s. It's all done in steps.
Done in steps. And what I'm now to get from
And
$399
each 2/10 costs you $100,000.
There you go. There's where I was after that part. So again, it's going to turn into a money game eventually, but it's going to take sponsors and everybody else to keep you moving and going and stuff like that. Even though winning that $40,000, that's just a drop in the bucket to get you where you got to go and what you're going to do to be that champion from that part.
Yeah, I'm running track to track in a big toter. It gets 5 miles to a gallon. I mean, it don't take long at all to eat $1,000 in fuel.
Yeah, exactly. Takes enough to get up and down the road. Okay, Josh, no more calls right now. 316-462-3673. Just got a few minutes left on the show, so we can take a few more callers and stuff too. Nick, you and I sat down and come up with questions last night with Monza for him and everything else like that. I'm trying to remember what other questions we had for him and stuff too.
I think we've hit most of them. So, I mean, we're right there.
So one of the things like he was asking about was fuel injection and stuff like that. Do you ever see a EV vehicle like competing? So an electric vehicle? Nope,
Nah.
you got them.
Well, I mean, the new Teslas and stuff are pretty dang fast, but they're just, I don't know that they'll ever.
I don't think it ever could get to where we're at now. I think
I
they're,
did see some dragsters out there, though, with all them batteries and stuff in them. Do you see them?
yeah. And I asked the one how fast it went, and
Not there.
I think it's definitely got a potential, and I think it's definitely got a market, and it's really cool. And like you said, the Mach-E GT is really fast. The Tesla's got some out there that are fast. The Cobra Jet that was electric. Other people that have tried it have had some serious safety issues with that. Obviously, that's going to have to be addressed.
Yeah,
I just don't think it can get to where the combustion engine is.
Yeah, I don't think so either. I mean, the EVs are going to have their certain niche of what they're going to do. I think they will get into drag racing very hard. I think they're going to get into road racing too. Different things of that part from that standpoint. I don't think we'll ever, I don't know, who knows what we'll see in the dirt side of this equation stuff. But I do think that EV is going to evolve As much as I hate to say this, I don't like the EV thing. I like to throw the engines. I want to hear the motors. I want to hear the stuff. But it is where we're headed. I mean, in the normal transportation mode days, we are headed to EVs. There's no doubt about that too. And talk about technology is going to change fast and go different ways. And how much everybody's worried about this battery range and all that kind of stuff. And it's going to change. Technology will come and everybody will develop something and everything else in that part. So
I think the biggest thing with it, especially in the drag racing world and dirt track world too, is your average guy is a blue collar guy. You know, they're not a electric scientist, you know, that can just figure out how all this stuff works as easy. And, you know, even like you've seen a few boosts with those RC cars, that look how crazy the RC drag racing worlds went and how they're adding the same sensors that shock sensors and stuff that we have on cars. But it's gotten to that level where that's not your average gearhead anymore, you know? Yep. So I think the whole market would have to shift. And as we're seeing here, this is still blue collar country. I think
half the fun of drag racing is building your motors.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? That they've been doing that since the first car was made. I mean,
yep.
The second car. The first one was made, the second one, then they started racing.
So, I mean, they're never going to take all that away. I mean,
no, I don't think so either. And, you know, as much as we're trying to get rid of the emissions and all that stuff out there, I still hope the combustion engines are still around for my lifetime anyway from that part, because, you know, I love the EVs too, but I still love to hear that throaty V8 and throaty whatever you're going to race and all that kind of stuff too from that part.
That's another big thing. Like he runs methanol, you know, methanol and ethanol fuels that they're overlooking that really hard with emissions. You know, most of these engines like his are actually going to be tested and run cleaner than a car that just rolled off the showroom.
Well, let's go in there, man. With the ECUs that you're running, I mean, I'm sure that your engine is still the best conforming at 14.7 to 1, just like any other engine is, with the compression and everything that you're putting in there. So am I right about that or am I wrong about that?
Methanol's different.
Is methanol different?
Yeah, but I mean, we have target air fuel ratios, and I mean, it puts them right where you want it.
Yeah. So I mean, if you really think about it, the emissions that are coming out of your car really aren't as detrimental as they were back with carburetors. You can't control that fuel mixture nearly as close as you can with an ECU, and in the injectors that are firing this thing so quick and so fast to put the right exact fuel mixture right inside the car.
Yeah, like I said, a lot of it's the fuel. The fuel level, what we use for racing is completely different than what we're using for our general public. And like there's companies here that have testing proven that they've done that, you know, they've taken cars right off the showroom floor, put it on ethanol fuel, put a blower on it, took all the emissions off, tested it. It tested higher standards than the car that rolled off the showroom floor bone stock. You know, and methanol is no different. It's such a clean, fast burning fuel.
Yep.
That it's you know, it isn't as bad as what people think. That's something I think that, you know, the PRI and a bunch of other places like that are trying to get that pushed and understood.
Well, and I guess I'm going to go to too, you know, with us using Sunoco, VP, and Renegade, and we have all three fuels in our race store just because everybody's got a different opinion from Chevy Ford. That's how I kind of look at the race fuels and stuff. We just get in their catalogs now and look at how many different variations of fuels are out there today for different engines, different compressions, different stuff, everything from that part too.
Guys, got one question here just popped up on Facebook. It says, Monza, do you see yourself getting into small tire racing in the near future?
I mean, that's where a lot of things are going to, but I think I got plenty on my plate right now with 3 shows I'm doing. My boy likes the small tire thing, so if we get into that, it'll be him.
Hey, let's tell our listeners real quick, what's the difference between a big tire and a small tire? I guess that's kind of a question.
So depending on how your car is built on the big tire stuff, I mean, obviously we sell a lot of the Hoosier 36-inch tall, 36. You know, some guys run the 34 14s, 34 16s. You know, but the small tire generally by nation is 28 10.5 or 29 5 10.5. So you're just say 28 inches wide or 20 inches tall, you're 10.5 wide.
Yeah.
His tire set next to my tire, steamrollers versus a donut tire. I mean, it takes a lot more, probably a lot more power management. We definitely can't throw, even though some of the motors are very, very similar to some of the guys. We could never leave at 5,216 pounds of boost.
That's the difference. Happen. The bigger tire, he's got to have the bigger tire to hold his horsepower, his torque, and his launch as he comes out of the hole, right? That's really kind of and then speed-wise, how much faster is the big tire cars compared to the?
You figure some of the fastest small tire no prep guys right now are 460s, 470s. So, I mean, there's a good second difference. I mean, these guys are running sub 1060 foot, so you're not seeing that in a small tire.
But then you can take a 275 drag radial, and them guys are running threes with them.
Drag radial racing. That's when that changes. When you get onto a prepped surface, radial versus the world, X275, Pro 275, stuff like that. Like what we want to go do in Georgia. That's insane. I mean, they're setting records with pro mods on a radial tire that the pro mod couldn't do with the big tire bias.
I can't expect to think we'll ever get a radial tire in your two guys' class.
Small tire guys are using radials quite a bit now, actually.
Really? What about a radial in your class? What do you think, Monza? Do you think that can happen?
No.
No,
not. I mean, it's just radial tire is just going to be a radial tire class. I mean,
yeah. I didn't know if there was
nobody wants that smoke on a no prep track.
Yeah, I think
is that what it is?
I mean, it's hard to make it work on a no prep track.
The small tire guys will use it like we sell a ton of the DVRs, Hoosier radials to some of the small tire no prep street racers now, because the tire can be used in the small tire world. The theory and power management is completely different, but you're airing that tire down a lot and then wanting to smack that tire and get right back on top of the tire. Which the radial will actually do that a lot better. And you can make the radial mile an hour faster with a small tire car. Then obviously I think on the big tire stuff, the problems are probably going to be weight. I think the weight of the radial would kill it. They're shaking tires now and breaking bars in their car with a tire. If you built a radial that was the same construction as, or same size.
So the radial weighs a lot more than a bias ply.
A lot more.
I got you. Makes sense.
Guys, I got a couple of comments to share here on Facebook before we wrap up. One of them's from John. It says, I ran a no prep series in Canada. Thanks to these guys making me fall in love with heads up racing from the first season of Street Outlaws. At 17 years old, these guys help tracks across the world. Just says thanks. That was from John. And then next after that was from Robert, and it says, tell him Big Rob said he'd like to see young blood race more. So I don't know. You got somebody.
My buddy Rob.
After you there. So.
Well, anyway, an hour's flown by as it always does, Monza. I can't thank you enough. Looking forward to what we're going to do this year. It's going to be fun. It's going to be exciting. We'll be rooting for you everywhere you go. Hope you get I'm going to predict. You said you wanted to win 2 of the 17. I'm going to say 4. I think you can get 4. Brand new car, everything set up. You got the money, got everything behind you to go do that. And I think you're going to get 4. So we'll see who wins out here. I hope you win 4.
I hope you're right. I hope I get more than that. But,
I hear you. So, anyway, everybody, thanks for watching. Thanks for listening, Monza. Again, thanks for taking the time here at PRI. Really appreciate it very much. And we'll talk to you soon. We'll get something put together for this year, and we're going to have a blast. I can tell you that.
Thanks for having us, guys. We appreciate you.
Monza, thank you very much. Nick, thanks for hanging out with us. Josh, get us out of here, buddy.